Welcome back to Recovering from Everything, a podcast for everyone who's ever had anything happen to them ever. I'm your host, Kinga. Obviously, I think you know that. I hope you know that. Pretty sure I make the same joke every week. But some of you might be new here. This might be your first podcast. If so, welcome, welcome, welcome. We laugh, we cry. I often use this as my public diary, so you'll get to know me quite personally. But mostly the point of all of this is to recover from everything. So to analyze and assess the day-to-day grievances, occurrences, experiences that all of us have to recover from. And so how I typically kind of compose an episode, which is why sometimes there's so much space between episodes, is I go through something, I come out the other side of it, I do a shitload of research or process or both, and then and only then do I record an episode that is fit for public consumption. So at the very least, you know that the majority of this is not bullshit. Some of it could be bullshit. I don't know, but I guess that's up to you. That is in the eye of the beholder. But mostly, I like to put together something between a diary entry and a literary sort of academic paper. Somewhere between there. Anyways, I've been a little bit in my head this week, in a good way, maybe. I was on a coaching call on Tuesday with some of my clients, and actually, so my partner Sherry usually runs the Tuesday calls, and that's for a very specific reason. But sometimes I procrastinate, and I don't want to do my administrative work, so I will hop on the calls and just be like, surprise, I'm here, and just kind of listen in and absorb all the gorgeous energy of all my perfect clients. So I hopped on the tail end of this call on Tuesday, and one of the women was sharing about how her husband or her adult son, one of them had angrily sort of called her an alcoholic. And this is so super common, like the amount of times that my ladies, or even in like my Facebook comments, the word alcoholic makes an appearance, is super common. But hearing this for some reason on Tuesday, I think it was a combination of me just being like very tired and me also fielding a ton of like hate comments in my Facebook comments, and even on Instagram. Anyways, I think it was just like an interesting little mocktail. When I tell you that I lost it, like I wrote in the comments, I was like, let me know if you guys are up for a rant, because I got a good one for you. And they were like, yes, let's get a good Kinga rant. So simultaneous to that, I've also been toying with the idea that the whole sort of like motivation behind self-improvement is a kind of landing on an acceptance that we are broken in some way, or that something is wrong with us. So all of that, those two things happening I told you it was like a perfect mocktail, a perfect storm. All of that to say, I was put in a mental spot of rebellion, I suppose. Like I just kind of wanted to take my sort of like warrior stance and protect the hell out of my women and you and myself. Any woman who has been repeatedly told that there is something wrong with her, or told herself that, which I am still guilty of to this day. And we're going to dig into why and what special circumstances have to occur for me to feel like there is something wrong with me. And maybe you'll find it relatable. But today we're going to talk about the biggest lie that anyone ever told me. And the lie is simple, and the lie is that there's something wrong with you for most of my life. And I believed it. Let's get into it. So the first time that I felt like I was wrong, I remember it so vividly. I was 5 or 6 years old, and we had just immigrated to Canada, and I didn't speak English yet. It was our first summer here. So I was 5, It was our first summer here in Toronto, and the neighborhood kids were outside playing. And I remember also being outside and sitting on a stoop somewhere, and I was watching them, and they tried to talk to me, and I don't remember there being any sort of like cruel kind of energy, but I do remember them trying to talk to me, and I literally could not communicate with them because I did not speak English. Um, and I remember watching them and feeling this separation, like there was just this divide between me and everyone else. Um, and that feeling like never went away, and it still pops up for me. Um, that feeling kind of shape shifted, showed up in different environments, and looked a little bit different, but that feeling of like the odd girl out was so consistent for my life. Um, it showed up as not doing well in school, not having as much money as the other kids that I grew up with, not fitting in socially, always being like slightly offbeat. Um, obviously I'm the only one of my friends that has a podcast. Like I've always been different. When I started my podcast, not a lot of people were doing the podcast thing. I was just like, I got a lot to say, and people seem to like hearing it. So, anyways, just always a little bit offbeat, always the odd woman out, and no matter what the circumstance, the story underneath it was always the same for me until recently. The story that the kind of like undercurrent, the narrative of my whole life just always felt like everyone else got the memo. Everyone else had a manual how to be normal, and I didn't. So naturally, obviously, my brain concluded that there's something wrong with me. And here's what I want you to hear if you are a woman who feels this too. And this is decades of therapy and self improvement and coaches and books and just all of it. Something you need to remember. Kids don't say, this environment isn't suited to my nervous system. Obviously, they say, I'm wrong, I'm broken, I'm bad. That belief gets wired in us very, very early. And once it's wired, you will unconsciously spend decades validating it or trying to disprove it, trying to bend and flex and mold to fit in, or trying to numb it, or trying to dilute it. So let me tell you about kind of this like, hole that I was trying to squeeze into. I basically I wanted to be more fun, which I mean, my first drink was all about me being more fun and the drinks that followed. To be easier, to be less intense. Imagine me being less intense. Not possible. But I tried to appease my parents, to blend in, not to be too dramatic, not to be too emotional, not to be too difficult. Like I sort of had it in my head that I was never going to be like a good kid. That role was taken by my sister, and I sort of very naturally assumed the role of the problem child. Um, and truth be told, once you get assigned your role in your family dynamic, that role kind of sticks. And even as I, improved myself and decreased the suck and increased the, I am zen and I am, wise and whatever, that was still problematic for people. Like, anyways, it's really, really difficult to get rid of it. Um, family, there's a family systems theory that tells us that like once the roles are assigned, right? The hero, the scapegoat, the caretaker, hi. being the problem child and the caretaker at the same time is like, I should have been paid double. Instead, I was paid nothing. Anyways, um, uh, they tend to sort of calcify, like they're very set in stone. And you start behaving in ways that confirm that role because belonging, even negative belonging, feels safer to a kid than exile, right? Like isolation to a kid means death. So if I was going to be the problem, fine. At least I'm interesting. At least I'm fun. At least I'm bold. Enter alcohol. When I was 14, alcohol did something really like kind of miraculous for me. It sort of softened the edges of reality, if you will. So, um, it made me more comfortable with being loud and free and not as self conscious. It made me feel like I had access to people on a very sort of like normal way, which I had never felt that before. And I'm stating something obvious, I think, but that like alcohol stimulates a sense of belonging, right? So it gave me temporary access to confidence, which I had. When I tell you I had never felt confident before, like, please believe me, because the environment that I grew up in, I was like always being stomped on. There were moments of I was going to say validation, but no, I do not mean validation, of encouragement. There were moments of encouragement for sure, but as the problem child, I was consistently treated as the problem child, right? In every minute and every hour of me being at home. So, um feeling confident was like really new for me. Social ease to feel like I belonged in like a fun way. Like my role in my social circle was like the fun drunk one, and like, oh, chaos, and like, oh, what's she getting into now? And haha, laughing about it, right? Inclusion in the group, who wouldn't want me around, right? But also that kind of like rebellious nature became a big piece of my identity too. Again, if you have felt like an outsider, square peg, round hole, this is intoxicating, for lack of a better word. It's intoxicating. And I remember, and some of you might remember from that one episode where I just like read from my diary, but um I had written in my diary after the first time that I got drunk that I was going to do this as often as possible. Like I was like, this is it. I have arrived. Like I am the best version of myself. Finally, right? So, um there's actual like neuroscience behind this. So alcohol increases dopamine. We love dopamine, and suppresses the activity in your amygdala. So your amygdala is your brain's fear center. It's very like primal. Um, which means that the voice that says like you don't belong here, like get out, danger, danger, gets quieter and quieter. So for a few hours, I'm not a square peg. I'm a round peg fitting very nicely into a round hole. I love this for me. So the kind of catch is that I didn't fit. I just sort of blurred my own edges enough to tolerate not fitting, you know? Um, that's very different. And I became a sort of master at blurring, at um, being a sort of like chameleon, but not quite. Like, and I felt the not quite, and the people in my environment felt the not quite. Um, and that not quite, I mean, there's really nothing more uncomfortable than that. Um, Historically, being fully myself cost me connection, um, cost me self-confidence. It put me in a position to be in trouble, ridiculed, criticized, um, looked down on, scoffed at. Um, so I did my best to kind of like negotiate myself. And the sort of strange thing is that I can feel fundamentally wrong, but I can still build a really nice life. Like I've always had really good jobs, like really upper echelon jobs and been really good at them. My social circle has always been like pretty top tier people. My family, my bio family, really well educated, super cultured, travelers, arts, music, museums, got like just you would never know. You would never know. Um, so from the outside, right, like everything works, which makes the sort of like internal experience of being me that much more shame filled. Because like if everything is fine on the outside, everything presents super well, and I feel off, I am the problem. Something is broken, something is wrong with me, right? Like if I never feel like or never quite 100% fit, it's because I'm broken. It's because, how like puzzle pieces, like old puzzles will have like those frayed edges. So they fit, but like not really because like the paper's rolled back or whatever, right? It's like that. It's like I'm that puzzle piece with that like frayed edge. And this is such a trap because I then become a woman of extremes, right? I am either overperforming based on a sense of low self-worth or underperforming based on a sense of low self-worth because I'm like, all right, I'm just really going to lean into this like this identity, right? So I built an impressive life that I never felt like I belonged in. But I want to tell you I need to kind of like tell you about this like impressive life that I had built, or like even the life that I had grown up in. So I was the problem child in my family, right? Like I did everything wrong. These I had these great jobs. I never quite fit in. Like I was always like just shy of like ease. Um and some of them were like corporate jobs and anyway, my social circle, I always kind of like there was always just sort of like an asterisk next to me. Like I was really you never really knew what you were going to get, but even in my social circle, I was like the problematic one, like over dramatic, always in some kind of, crisis or trouble or whatever. So I was that one in my social circle. Everything looked like it was functioning, but it was very obvious to me and in the environments that I put myself in that and these were just kind of standard environments, right? Like society expected me to work and get jobs and so I did. And I went and worked for people and life, right? So and I had just always accepted that life was going to be a little bit harder for me and that I would have to blur my edges or dilute myself in order to fit into social circles or various environments with jobs or whatever. I could never show up as me. The kind of part of my French fucked up thing is that I also spent a lot of time with people who validated that something was wrong with me, that something was broken, that something was just like not quite right. And I would, you know, receive criticism and suggestions because I genuinely thought that something was like broken with me, right? My parents had always told me that. My teachers had always told me that. My, employers eventually would tell me that. My, some of my friends would tell me that. My romantic partners, all of them would tell me that. I was listening to this podcast called Giggly Squad. It's these two girls that used to be on this reality show that I loved. Anyways, one of them I really relate to a lot. Just really super high functioning, great at, basically a fucking rock star, and I love her. She was saying, and I related to this so much. Like she said, I don't think I've ever been with a man who has loved 100% of my personality. They like bits and pieces for sure. Um, But every single romantic relationship I've been in, the man, for some reason, has decided that it's okay to chip away at this one part of me, right? Like whatever he saw fit, just this one part of me. It's okay to like chip away at that or, be worried about, oh, this one part. Like, yeah, you're good, but like, oh, this one part of you, like, money, cooking, uh, the volume of my voice, like just I've never ever 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 been with someone that has loved 100% of my like personality and existence. Never. Even like my body, like I've had two men in my past comment on my body. I mean, like, you would be so much hotter if. Anyways, so that's kind of what I mean. Like, I would accept criticisms and people trying to fix me because I thought that I was broken. And so it goes in this like cycle that's like feeding itself where, I always end up a little bit broken. Anyways, that story started to crack, which is the good news. This is the climax of this is where shit gets a little bit different for me. Is there were some cracks in that story, thank goodness. So the first one is when I finally got sober, got a hold of my drinking, and I started really, really having deep, deep conversations with other women who were like me. And they started asking me these beautiful, kind of meaningful, effective, productive questions that had nothing to do with like what's wrong with you, but like what happened to you. I could cry. To be seen, like finally, like not what are you doing wrong? What needs fixing? Like what's wrong with you? But like what happened to you? What do you believe about yourself? Who told you that you were too much? Like how long have you been carrying that idea? Um, how long have you thought that you were too difficult? How long have you thought that you were too intense? How long have you hated your body? Like those are the right questions, right? Where before I was just plagued with like, how much are you drinking? You should be able to control it. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you like that? Can you tone it down a bit? Go to the gym more. Why can't you cook? Like, just all this stuff. Listen, I fucking hate cooking. I can do it. I can keep me and my daughter alive, but I fucking hate cooking, and I just accepted that. Okay. Anyways, being around women like that, where they were trying to examine my identity versus fix my behavior was so healing, was so, so, so healing. That is the absolute like base foundation of my community now. That is the basis, that is the foundation of the work that we do. Um, the curriculum that I built, because I've experienced firsthand how healing it is for women just to feel like someone sees them and can look past the behavior, right? Asking the right questions. Once I started digging into the beliefs about myself, everything changed for me. Like my loneliness, that sense that I was like in exile and isolation. I didn't really belong anywhere. That started to disappear. My role in my family changed. I'm still the problem child, but I'm not necessarily going along with anything anymore, which is problematic for people. So still proudly wearing the problem child hat, but I feel different about it, and I suppose that's all that matters. Um, my sort of like constant attempts to earn belonging are gone. I genuinely I don't know the last time I felt like that, where I just like really wanted people to like me. That's kind of beautiful, actually. Um, I started to realize like I wasn't a deviant, I wasn't defective. I was, because of the environment that I grew up in and that I continue to place myself in, trying to belong and be normal, I was extremely dysregulated, and I was misplaced. I was in the complete wrong environments with the complete wrong people. Best conclusion ever. Like the biggest lie that I was ever told was that there was something wrong with me, but it was by the complete wrong people. And the best conclusion that I've ever gifted myself is that I was in the wrong environments with the completely wrong people. Great. If we can like break that down even further, so um some people are naturally wired intensely. I'm a Scorpio, okay? Enough said. I am super intense. I love being intense. I love going real deep with people really quickly. I'm super observant. I'm very ambitious. I'm amazing at pattern recognition. Emotionally so layered. I question everything. Like I just literally, I'm so curious, ask a million questions. I'm super restless. Put that person in a really rigid, unsafe, volatile environment. That looks like rebellion. It does. Asking questions, put that personality in in a really like homogenous social circle where everyone's sort of the same. That personality looks like it's too much, right? If you put that ambition, that restlessness in a society that values compliance, right? In an environment that values compliance, corporations, working for people, that personality looks like a threat. It looks like insubordination. So, what do square pegs do? We sand ourselves down, right? Um, Alcohol is a very efficient sandpaper, rounds us out temporarily, but definitely at a cost. Because every time that I was blurring myself to belong somewhere, I was reinforcing the belief that I was not acceptable. That yes, I was broken. All those people were right. Yes, I was broken. And I was erasing me. The second sort of crack in the Kinga is broken foundation helped when I started helping other women. Being in this industry, I'm gonna tell you two things. One, in university, so when I was, in my early 20s, I minored in social work. So there was always a part of me that wanted to help, some kind of service work, right? Deciding that that was going to be my minor. I think it was in my second year. I had already taken some classes and I was like, I'm really digging this. Um, but I was so bad at school and I was such a problem child and I was everything about my existence was so problematic that like who gave a shit what I liked, right? I remember telling my family that that was what I wanted to major in. Became a minor, but that's what I wanted to major in. And they were like, not like I believe my dad was like, that's a disappointment. Okay. Anyway, so I ended up still taking those classes, but it became my minor. My major was something different. It was something I just like really easily excelled at and like I have a honors degree. So it was just like whatever. It was just like really freaking easy for me. I did not go into any sort of helping position despite having wanted to. So when I got sober and decided I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to learn about how I can work in this industry, and I started helping other women, it felt like a brand new puzzle piece kind of like being put into place. Like I have never felt so aligned in my life. I've had, like I said, really, really great jobs in the past and things that felt like a career. This this life, this industry, the work that I've been doing for over 10 years now, like is it. This is the reason that I am on this planet. This is the reason for me to have gone through everything, all of the pain and all of the damage and everything that had been done to me and everything that I have done to myself and to others. Everything was for me to get onto this path. I am crystal clear on that. The podcast was born from it. My entire career was born from it. The program that I built, the curriculum that have put in place, the curriculum that I put in place that when I was still working in the rehab, like the connections that I've made, the depth at which I like connecting with people, the intensity, like the language that I speak now, everything is feels completely aligned. I I have been able to witness my own expansion, my own evolution based not on accepting that something is broken and trying to fit into an industry that I didn't necessarily fit into. I showed up in this space 100% unabashedly myself because I felt safe enough to, because the women that helped me bring me into this space wanted to see me, the real me. And the more that I used my voice and the more that I healed and did the work there, the more confident, what a feeling, the more confident I became in the fact that who I was completely okay. I'm not the problem child here. I'm not the odd woman out. Um, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be with the exact people that I'm supposed to be with. It happened one more time, and I hope it happens a few more times. But when I quit my, corporate job at the rehab working for the hospital, and I started my sort of like entrepreneurial journey. I started spending time with other entrepreneurs, um, women who thought bigger and expanded their reality and believed in things that I had never even allowed myself to imagine was possible for little old broken me. Suddenly what I used to feel was like impossible for me, I wouldn't even let my brain go there, became normal. Like running a whole company, like it's so healing for this version of myself that was so convinced that she was broken and damaged and would never amount to much. I changed, obviously. I've evolved over the years, obviously. But the most critical piece of me feeling safe enough to evolve and expand and want more and better for myself was changing my environment. Always, 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 always. Neuroscience tells us that like our brains are like relational sort of organs, like will regulate through proximity. Whoever's in the room, I'm going to obviously like match your energy and absorb that and whatever. Like we calibrate to the spaces that we're in. We calibrate to the people who are around us, the rooms that we're in, right? If I'm the only person in the room that's like me, I'm going to feel completely alone. Worst feeling ever. Completely alone. Full room, completely alone, right? I'm in a family, I'm completely alone. I'm in a social circle, I'm completely alone. I'm doing the same job as everybody else, but I'm completely, completely alone. I want to touch a little bit on this idea of like potentially outgrowing things. So, what might feel like you are broken might actually be like you've outgrown something. So like you no longer fit there, right? An old version of you maybe fit there, but this new version of you didn't. I know from experience and empirical evidence that high performing women will stay in environments that shrink them. Jobs, friend groups, family roles. Right. I know women who are up here, like executive level in their careers, in their families, they are the problem one, right? The one, the sick one, the one that the family has to worry about. Um, they'll stay in marriages where they are made to feel small, terrible. And if we dare start to expand, the room and the people in the room resist it, right? They press harder. No. Systems prefer equilibrium. If you stop drinking, the drinkers in your life feel exposed. If you grow, the people who are stagnant feel threatened. If you refuse to conform, the people who are compliant feel judged. So it's much easier for everyone to say you're the problem, but you're not. You're in the wrong environment trying to contort into the wrong shape. So the biggest lie that anyone ever told me was that there's something wrong with me. The truth, it was just misalignment. I was trying to be more fun when I was actually feeling deep that day, or I was trying to go with the flow when I actually felt a little more discerning that day, or I was trying to be compliant, but I'm truly like a visionary. I got big ideas. And I was trying to belong in spaces that required me to betray myself. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with the space. It doesn't require everyone to betray themselves, but it would have for me. Even using alcohol to dilute the intensity of not fitting in. Like I was so young, but the feeling of being an outsider was so intense. And I can see that once I stopped drinking and I stopped trying so hard to conform and trying to dilute the intensity of not fitting in and the stress of that and the pressure of that and we're just working so hard and not feeling like I was like getting better at anything, that I wasn't getting more acceptable. I was getting less acceptable. And I was, really showing a lot of cracks in the foundation there. But once I stopped doing that to myself, once I stopped in that drinking cycle, I started curating my environments. Like the room and the people in the room became critical to my well-being. So, frankly, I don't talk to everybody. I don't spend time with just anybody. People want me to go for coffee and stuff. I won't. I have to be very, very careful with who I allow to enter my bubble, my room, because I know already what it feels like when I'm not careful. And I care and love and accept myself so much now that it can't be just anybody with their thoughts and their baggage and their opinions. Like it can't be just anybody throwing their shit at me. When I started kind of like creating and curating my bubbles, my rooms, I choose the culture. It is a culture of love and support. I accept nothing less. Social circles, I don't spend time with anyone who is negative or thinks negative. Cut, cut. I get to choose the values. We value each other. We value integrity. We value dreaming. We value rest. We value movement, peace of mind. We value joy, all of that. And I get to choose the kind of pace of my own growth and the motivation behind it. So um I've shifted from becoming the square peg into becoming like the architect. If I don't like the environment I am in, I'll just go and build a new one. So, if you're listening to this podcast and your life looks good on paper, but something feels very, very off, deep, deep within, or not that deep within. If you've spent years trying to be less of yourself or more of yourself, you know, less intense, less emotional, less ambitious, less problematic, less rigid, like just whatever. And if alcohol has become the thing that helps you tolerate the environment that you are in, there is a high, high likelihood that there is nothing wrong with you. You are exactly perfect the way you are, and you don't have to do anything differently. You might be in the wrong room. You might be wearing an old hat of an outdated role. You might be drinking to survive, cope with this misalignment. And the work isn't to fix yourself. It's to examine, where are you shrinking? The environment that you're in, who do you become in that environment? What parts of you feel unsafe there? What happens when you're around people who think bigger or people who get you? Belonging doesn't require you to erase yourself or any parts of yourself. It requires the right placement. And once you get a little taste of that, that's what you're going to go after, not trying to squeeze into rooms and places and people that have no business being anywhere near you. So the biggest lie anyone ever told me was that I was broken, and the best truth I ever learned about myself was that I was just in the wrong place. And once I stopped trying to sand down my edges to like fit into these different roles, I built spaces better suited for me and everything I am today. And that changed everything for me. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for listening to another episode of Recovering from Everything, a podcast for everyone who has had anything happen to them ever. Did I just fuck that up? A podcast for everyone who's ever had anything happen to them ever. There it is. It was the rhythm. Including believing the lies of people who didn't actually know what the heck they were talking about. I will see you next time. If anything in this episode hits you on the head and you're thinking of joining my women's program, start with the masterclass. The link is in the show notes. I work super freaking hard in the first half of the women's program curriculum to show you how all the programming and other people's voices, etc., that's what's broken, not you. You probably make perfect sense given the context of your life. You are perfect, and it is okay for you to start to rediscover that woman and get to know her again and who she is today, without harming her all the time with alcohol or squeezing her into places she's not meant to be. Kind of reminds me of, like, have you ever put on a pair of pants that's too small? Right? And like, instead of being like, these pants are too small, you're like, my body's too big. And it's like, no, babes, your body's great. Those pants are literally too small. It's kind of like that. We just need bigger pants. I'm going to leave you with that wisdom. I love you. I will see you soon.